Good evening, loonies, and welcome to the first episode of the Hug Jacket Gamers podcast. My name is Eric Thrasher.
I'm Peter Oldak.
And I am Tor Nordgarn.
Tonight, we're going to be introducing ourselves, introducing the show, and we're going to be talking about ourselves, talking about what we're into, what we're playing, what we're excited for, and let's kick it off with a segment that we call Introducing the Crazies. We're going to talk about each of our top 3 favorite games and what made them so special to us. It's going to kind of give you a better idea of who we are as gamers. You can kind of predetermine us, judge us, as it were. And just give us your feedback and let us know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree, All right, so my top 3 favorite games of all time are Dark Souls. This is in descending order, with number 3 being Dark Souls. Dark Souls changed the way I thought of difficulty in video games and made it super exciting and rewarding to just keep getting punished. And everything about that game, the atmosphere, the storytelling, the kind of build it yourself storyline, the enemies, all of that really worked with and for the game. And I've been excited about Bloodborne coming out. I've been playing Dark Souls 2. I bought all the DLC, haven't played it through it yet, even though now I believe it's going to be free on PS4. I'm just a huge Souls fan. Number 2 is The Elder Scrolls Morrowind. This game, when I picked it up, I got home, I started playing it, I couldn't put it down. It just changed my perspective on RPGs and what they should be. It's basically what I thought RPGs should be. And up until this day, I think most RPGs should take a note from the Elder Scrolls series. Especially that game. It was just so different from anything else, and it was first person, and you can go anywhere, do anything, be whoever you wanted to be, and that was really exactly what I wanted to see from a game. So to just have that experience right out of the box was pretty rad, and to just stumble upon it. My all-time favorite game may be a little cliche, but it's tried and true, and it's The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time. That game really, when I was a kid, I couldn't stop playing it when I first got my hands on it, and I don't know, it just made it gave everything this new standard. It was kind of in the same vein of Morrowind, that you could go anywhere and do anything, and not right out of the box, but you could really explore this world that they created, and the fact that you became this huge hero, and you travel through time, and it's got all these cool like sci-fi nuances, and it's it was minimal storytelling as well. There was plot there, but your character never spoke, so that really made it feel like you were part of the story. And I don't know, and Navi's little annoying voice popping up all the time was I don't know, it's just something that sticks with you. It's
Hey, listen!
Exactly. I can still hear it echoing through my head. Peter, you want to go ahead and tell us about you?
Yeah, sure. My top 3 are, I realize they're fairly mainstream and they're fairly straightforward, but my number 3 has got to be Far Cry 3. It kind of excited me to see that a lot of people were really excited for Far Cry 4, and I completely respect that, but when I started playing Far Cry 3, I did not have any idea what the hell it was about. I didn't know any of the features, any of the gameplay, any of the story, and I was completely blown away by everything that you can get away with. And Far Cry 4 is a step up, but in my opinion, on the surface, if you look at Far Cry 3, it's just a game where you could kill and you could blow stuff up, and talking to a lot of people that also like the game, that's what they take away from it. But part of it for me was definitely playing as this character who at the beginning is very scared and uncertain of himself, and seeing him slowly transform into he goes native, he goes rogue, he learns how to kill people, he loses sight of his family and friends by trying to get vengeance for them, and it's just a really interesting transformation. A lot of psychological stuff and a lot of psychedelic stuff. It's just a really good, really awesome journey to go through. My second favorite game has got to be BioShock Infinite. It took me a couple of years to finally get around to playing BioShock 1 after it released, but when I did, I was slain. That game had a lot of dark aspects, and it was I was on the edge of my seat the entire time playing through it. But Infinite itself is set in the early 1900s, and I think that's such an interesting setting for a game because I don't think a lot of them do that, particularly in an industrial sort of town area. And you play as Booker DeWitt, who has kind of a shady past and a chip on his shoulder, and all he wants to do is go into this city in the sky and bring back a girl to whom you don't know. He barely knows, but as you go along the way, the mystery deepens, and it becomes a story of how the past haunts you, and trying to reconcile yourself with moving forward in your life while also learning and applying all the terrible things that you've experienced to the future as you move forward. And I really like that. Plus, it's just really an awesome game. The cast and characters are memorable, and they stay with you long after you finish playing. At the end of the game, I was just kind of staring at my computer screen, wondering what the hell had just happened because the conclusion hits you so quickly. And it takes a few moments for you to organize your thoughts and realize what happened. But that's part of the reason that I really like BioShock Infinite is it's a huge surprise. And my number one, and I'll try to keep this brief because this game is very near and dear to my heart, but it's The Last of Us. And I know that people were kind of tripping over themselves to say how good that game was when it came out in 2013. And I've actually beaten it 3.5 times. And I guess I can't say I've beaten it half a time, but still. I've just played the crap out of it. And I just recently also uncovered the multiplayer aspect. I don't know why I didn't touch it before, but gameplay-wise, it's very sneaky or very violent. There's no in between. The main storyline is about Joel, and funny enough, Joel is played by Troy Baker, who also voices Booker DeWitt in BioShock Infinite. So there are some parallels there, but Joel as himself, you take control of him and you witness the beginnings of the end of the human race as we know it. And 21 years later, just about, you pick up on his story and you complete what the game wants you to know, but there's still so much left that you never find out about him. You don't find out how he became so corrupt. You don't find out what happens to him after the game. It's so open-ended and so emotional. I've even seen videos where people put up tier counters, which is just a number of times in the game because of cutscenes or because of certain aspects of the story, gameplay, where people started coming to tears. And it's a linear progression, and there are a lot of criticisms for it on how it portrays certain other characters in relation to Joel. But I think that any video game that makes you ask a lot of questions after the fact or second-guess the experience that you had, while at the same time you do know that you had a lot of fun, is a great game. And that's definitely what The Last of Us is.
All right, Tor, it's on to you. What can we hear from you?
All right, so I'm going to kind of start this off with a game that was already mentioned. Dark Souls is my number 3 game. The reason I like the game is because it had a lot of the old school game difficulty and game design like Ocarina of Time and Metroid. It had all these great kind of features that felt like you were playing an old school game. And the difficulty was just extreme for the first one. The second one, I'm not too sure about, but the other part of it was the co-op. Brilliant, brilliant co-op. There were more than one way to invade someone's world. There was more than one way to get invaded. It wasn't just about invasion. There was also cooperative co-op where you could, down a boss with two other people. And you actually didn't even have to have online play to get that experience too, because they coded in like fake invasions where it's just an NPC and he kind of plays like a player, and then there's a couple of white soapstone signs you can find to summon an NPC that plays like a player to fight a boss for you. So it was really well designed, and I really love the game. My number 2 is the Fallout series in general, mainly because the first 2 Fallout games were some of the most amazing and immersive top-down turn-based strategy RPG games that I've ever played. I really, really like top-down strategy games and RPG games, and it combined both of them. Being able to miss and hit your ally was awesome. Wasn't awesome, but it added an element of difficulty to the game in strategy and weighing your actions on, should I shoot at this guy or am I going to miss? And the storyline for the entire Fallout universe is not only really amazing, but the aesthetic is one of my favorites. It's got like a 1930s, 1940s vibe going on. I really like that style. I think it fits like the desolate technological future really, really well. So that's my number 2. The first game on my list, the game that I adore the most, is Star Wars Galaxies. The reason being is because I'm an MMO nut, and this was one of the first sandbox MMORPGs, and it was actually one of the most superior MMO games on the market at the time. It was a living, breathing Star Wars universe. There was player crafting, which would allow you to get the most out of your stuff. So if you really wanted the best pistol in the world, you had to go find the guy who crafted the best pistol in the game on your server. So that was a really cool element to it. And then there was the Galactic Civil War, where you could choose to be neutral, or you could choose to be a rebel, or you could choose to be an Imperial. And if you chose to be an Imperial or a rebel, you could recruit faction members. You could have like an ATST and a horde of stormtroopers follow you around and kill rebels, or you could have a bunch of like droids and rebel soldiers follow you around and kill Imperials. So that is my top 3.
All right, well, it looks like it's time to move on to our next segment. This segment is titled Rumors from the Radio. This is where all the crazies in the nut house sit around the radio and discuss things that we're excited about.
Yeah.
Or actually, we discuss
things we heard about, rumors.
Yep.
I'm not really sure if this is true or false. We've done a little bit of research, but
You can correct us if you need to. We might correct ourselves later down the road. It's just news and info that might be interesting to you, and it's certainly interesting to us.
I heard that Barack Obama wasn't born a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, that's not news.
I heard that Bruce Jenner is a woman.
A long
What?
time ago.
Yeah. I also don't know who Bruce Jenner is. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Is that weird?
So,
Anyway,
comment.
yeah. So first up on the list is the Steam controller. Steam, or I guess it's on the internet, somewhere on the internet, there are leaked images of the new Steam controller design.
We're not going to tell you where.
Yeah, you know where to look. So this new design, they've gone through 3 iterations thus far that they've officially released schematics for. The first had 2, weird saucer trackpads that everybody was super sketched out about. The buttons were in really weird places. It had A, B, X, Y, classic, standard lettering for buttons, but they were all like on opposite ends of the controller. It was kind of a weird looking design, and people were not too sure about it. The controller is, if you don't know, it's for the Steam machines. It's also for current PCs. They're kind of just making their own gamepad that's supposedly going to make it easier to play all Steam games. It looked initially basically like it was going to be FPS focused. The second design that they officially announced introduced the button layout more common to the Xbox 360 controller. And then it also introduced a D-pad, which wasn't something that was in the initial design. So it looked like it basically was just transforming into an Xbox controller. And then finally, today, these images, today, March 11th, these images were released. And it looks like the D-pad has transformed into an analog stick, further confirming the transformation into basically just a 360 controller. What do you guys think of this?
I think that they're gonna have a tough time getting people on a new controller base. They're gonna have a really tough time getting people to switch to a new controller base, because I mean, there's already so much like griping between Xbox controllers and PlayStation controllers and what's better. Yeah, I'll be interested to see like what they've done to make it any better.
What I honestly think is that if you love playing video games and you just love video games for video games, the escapism, the experiences that you can have, the shared experiences you could have by playing with friends. For instance, it doesn't matter what the fuck your controller looks like. You can learn to use pretty much anything if you're interested in it. That's how you get people who learn to play the violin, and that's how you get people who become painters. Although this might be a little bit too creative for video gamers. Well, video gamers are pretty creative, objectively speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a video gamer, and I doodle.
Yeah.
Anyway, as far as the controller looks, I think it's kind of cool. When I saw I had no idea that they were releasing some kind of a controller for the Steam machines, but specifically for the Steam machines. But I like the original saucer idea. I think that would be very interesting, kind of trackpad type things. But a D-pad, I think, would make it more, would make it easier for people who do play on the Xbox and the PlayStation to adjust. Yeah, because Steam doesn't want to replace consoles necessarily. They want to offer another way for people to play video games.
I think they want to introduce PCs to the
general public,
to the living room. Basically, they want a PC next to the PS4. They want a Steam machine next to in your stack of consoles. Sitting under next to your TV or whatever.
Also, another thing too is like there isn't really. I mean, there is compatibility with like the Xbox 360 controllers and everything, but there's not like a whole lot of compatibility. And I think maybe Steam is trying to make it so that when a game goes on their Steam platform, it has complete compatibility with this new controller, showing people some games that they might not have played in the past, like Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, or like Oddworld is a game I could say you wouldn't be able to play without a D-pad. I think
there's a nutty down the hall from the cell block that we're in who thinks she's a terrier, so pardon the noise.
Yeah, that damn person that thinks they're a dog. Definitely not an actual dog.
Yep, it's tripping me out, man. But
she's also a bitch.
I think that they're trying to introduce people to this new concept of like, hey, there are games out there that are a pain in the butt to play with a keyboard, but here's a remote controller that'll work that you can map your buttons to.
For instance, Assassin's Creed. That game has so many different controls and inventory buttons for different items that I've been playing PC games since I was maybe 6. And I'm 24. That's a bit of experience, but it was always difficult for me to play more complex games with more complex inventory options.
Yeah.
So I think a controller for PC games would be really good. I don't know how accurate it would be to replace a mouse and a keyboard, specifically the mouse part with a trackpad on a controller. But still, I think that it's an interesting concept, and if they could actually get this shit off the ground, because I know they've been talking about this for years.
November 15th is when the, if I'm getting my dates correct, is when the Alienware Steam machine is going to launch. So that's probably, this Christmas season is probably when all of the Steam machines are going to be coming out. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, then I feel a little bit better about it.
The specifically about the design, I think it's interesting that I liked the D-pad before in the second design, because the trackpad idea is good for people who like using computer mice in first-person shooters, especially, because you're just able to directly aim at things. You don't have to twirl around or anything. That's the joy of not having to use a stick. And then also, they add the stick. They got rid of the D-pad and they added the stick, which is kind of like the worst element of the 360, which is, or the 360 controller, is that the D-pad is just garbage. And that's, everybody had an issue with it. And so, like, to have dedicated buttons up, down, left, and right, I thought was kind of like the better idea, the compromise, giving the trackpad, because I can't even see a use for this now. Like, I guess as a D-pad, like the joystick could be used as a D-pad, but I wouldn't want to map, my
D-pad
access.
Yeah, D-pads are a pain in the butt to use in the first place.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually have a suggestion. One by one, what do you guys think that the new design for the Steam controller, what do you think would make it successful? Like, what do you think is a thing that can surprise you about it, or something that they can add or take away that you think that would make it a viable option for gaming?
I think they're on the right track, really. I just making it, I guess, uniform is the big question, because it's like, are you going to be playing, Cities and Skylines on this, or are you going to be playing, The Sims? Is this going to be accessible to everything? I'll be surprised if it works with first-person shooters as well as, RPGs, as well as Sims and tycoon simulators and all that nonsense.
I think there's two things that they can do. One thing is that they can somehow offer more features than a standard controller, which means more buttons, which means easier key mappings for games, like these larger games like Assassin's Creed. And like maybe like some kind of push to talk button for, like...
Awesome.
It looks like that's a feature, actually. Looking at
Does it?
these stills, yeah. Like, there's going to be some sort of... Or there was on the initial design.
It's got to be really well accessible, this push to talk feature, because that's the thing. Like PlanetSide 2 is coming out for the PlayStation 4, and there's like 36 people can be in a platoon, which is a group, right? And if it's not push to talk, then like you've got 36 people just constantly like open mic.
Do you have to take the hand off the controller to hit the shift key or whatever?
Yeah, and like on top of that too, there's different channels you can talk to, like proximity. You can talk to just your squad. You can talk to all of your platoon. You can talk to your outfit. But there's no way to change that. So that's why like extra button mappings would be good. Maybe to like switch between chat channels and then push to talk as well. Because man, it's freaking annoying hearing people like with their open mics. And the other thing that they can do is they can just start doing what Scuff Gaming does and modifying existing controllers to have different, things. It almost seems like they've just modified an Xbox 360
it does
controller.
look like that a little bit,
But yeah, I don't really know what they can do because, we'll see. We'll see around the Christmas season.
What I'm taking away from the design as it is right now is it does look like it might be more comfortable for your hands. Which means that people who are prolific gamers and who plan on playing until they're 120 are less likely to get carpal tunnel. I think that overall the controller looks like it might be more comfortable to hold. However, utilizing it, like its utility, I'm not quite sure. But this is just a hope. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a Steam machine or ever get to use a Steam controller. But
they're for PC as well. It's not just for Steam machines. It's for everything. They want it to be applicable with their OS, with their
well,
everything.
that's just it. In order for me to want to replace my mouse and keyboard with this thing, I need to find that the trackpad and the D-pad, which looks like it's also a trackpad, it just has a little bit of is it a bevel or a bezel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got indentations of what you'd expect a D-pad to look like. If those turn out to feel really good, if they're super responsive, if there are multiple uses for it other than using them just as trackpads, then I think that I would be surprised and enthused by it enough to actually purchase it. But as far as replacing my keyboard and mouse with a Steam controller, I don't quite feel up to the idea unless it does seem like it gives me an edge or it makes things more comfortable and easier.
I'm not sure if that's their goal, though, is to replace, right? I think that their goal is mainly to try and give an alternative, like, okay, Evolve, right? It's really hard to play the monster without a track or a console
Controller,
controller. Like, I would imagine playing Evolve, you probably want to, plug in a Steam controller rather than playing it with mouse and keyboard, because the monster controls are a little wonky on mouse and keyboard. But then also having the functionality of being able to just, switch over back to your mouse and keyboard without having any problems from like the Xbox 360 controller, like desyncing and doing all this weird crazy things. Like, there's still problems when you try to disconnect and replug in your 360 controller and playing games. So maybe they're just trying to offer a alternative controller and one that will work with all of your Steam games without giving you trouble. Something that they can officially support.
I mean, I think we would all like to look forward to something replacing WASD and mouse and keyboard and everything, because if we could find something that didn't so easily destroy our wrists, then I think that would be awesome. So also, I guess yesterday, March 10th, there was, Rockstar released the heist mode in GTA Online.
Finally!
It's here. Yeah, and they taunt you with it in the beginning. Like, Lester calls you and he's like, or he texts you and he's like, oh, I sent some people over to your place to do some refurbishing. I'll call you later. I've got some extra work for you. You just weren't ready for it yet. And then, like, in the cutscene, he's like, yeah, now you're ready to jam with the big boys. You just weren't ready yet, so, like, I had to wait. I just had to wait.
You make Lester sound like he's an asshole.
Oh, well, he is a creepy asshole, yeah.
Yeah, he is. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
The big news with this, and the reason why it's not what we're playing right now, is because the servers are fucked. Yeah, I mean, whoever would have
Who didn't
guessed
expect that
to happen.
Nobody plays the game in like 6 months, and then they released the biggest update that was promised, and all of a sudden the servers are flooded.
Yeah, so they obviously weren't prepared for the flood. They weren't ready either.
I do think that if people think about complaining about heist mode and how long it's taken or any issues, I mean, Rockstar doesn't give a fuck. They make amazing games. They take their sweet ass time because they know that if they do, they'll put everything that they initially envisioned and more into the game. And judging by the number of people that started playing GTA Online and that still play it and that are logging back on to play heist mode specifically, I think that Rockstar has a good way of doing things. It kind of sucks that we have to wait and that there's so many issues, but as far as the quality of their product, it's almost always super shiny and top notch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's one thing I will say though about it, because I did get to play a small amount of heisting. So they added all this open world stuff that you can do, which seems cool. I didn't get to do much of that, but when I joined heists, so far what it's been is you either start your own heist and you can go through all 4 maps in the heist. You don't really get to choose like what, like how you do the setup. Really, you don't get 2 different types of setups. You pretty much do the same setup missions every time. There's just like goals and like doing it in a certain amount of time or like doing it, you know, there's basically just different ways to complete each heist mission, but they're pretty much the same. That's what I can tell. So basically, it's a 4 mission playlist. And the thing that sucks right now is that it pretty much boots everyone but the host out after each setup mission, so you have to reinvite everyone. And so basically, I've just been playing heist missions as if they were regular missions. I just join one on my phone because someone like invites me to like the third phase of a heist, and so now I'm playing the third mission. Haven't played the first 2. I don't know what's going on, but I'm sitting there stealing a car, shooting some person for codes or whatever it is. Like, so I don't know. It seems like it's going to be another month before I actually dig into the heist mode because it's a mess right now.
Well, then I think that one thing we could say to Lester is that you weren't ready, motherfucker.
Right? Lester was wrong. He wasn't ready.
That's right. All right, so we're gonna.
Last bit of news.
Yeah, the last bit of news here. We're just gonna talk about. This has kind of been an ongoing. It's already happened quite a while ago, but it's just something that we that's at the forefront of our minds because of the games that we play.
Not mine.
Not Peter's particularly, but Tor and I do a lot of PlanetSide, and we do a lot of H1Z1, and
EverQuest Next will be cool.
yeah, EverQuest Next is coming out. Recently SOE, Sony Online Entertainment, was bought out by Columbus Nova Investment Management, and now Daybreak Games.
They're now called Daybreak.
Okay, they're now called Daybreak Games.
Yep.
I have a question about these guys. Are they just an investment group that just decided one day that they, like, hey, let's manage video games and make money? I mean, they bought out Sony Online Entertainment. That's a piece of Sony, and Sony's a huge company. I imagine that would cost a lot of money. Do they have any prior experience with video games? Do you guys know?
One of the guys who owns the investment management company, or one of the head guys or whatever, I don't know exactly how they're structured, but apparently he bought Guitar Hero from Activision, kept that alive for a bit.
Head guys, that's the people who deal drugs to you, right?
Huh?
Head guys?
Yeah.
That's where you get your weed?
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, that guy sells a lot of weed, and he got Guitar Hero to stay stable. No, but I've heard some good things about them, like that they're very smart. One of the things is, Sony's been selling off pieces of itself slowly, actually. They sold off the Vio machine last year, I think, or maybe it was earlier this year.
I was hoping I could see more Vio product placement in my movies.
I know, right?
Right.
And now they sold off
We're looking at you, Chappie.
SOE, and was there Vio placement in
It's a
Chevy?
Sony movie.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
He hooked himself up to 8 PS4s.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyways, so they're selling off pieces of their company because they're not making money. And Columbus Nova, like, they're in the business of making things profitable. A lot of their stuff is more like in the medical field, or it's not game stuff, but they know management, and so far they've actually gotten rid of a lot of people at Daybreak Games, and I'm not going to say it's a good thing because they were good people, but so far I think the people that they've let go are kind of people that are just figureheads at this point in time. Yeah. So the company's really not making money, and they're going to try to hire some people who really know what they're doing, because Sony's been kind of going downhill with the game making for a while. They've been having some troubles. They were out of the game, like SOE was out of the game for a long time, and
yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw a game with that brand on it. Okay, so as an outsider, my outsider's perspective, I think that this is kind of a novel idea for a finance management group or whatever they do. They sound like they're smart with money, but they have very little to do with video games initially. I think that it's a novel idea to have somebody fresh come in and get rid of some of the old figureheads that they may be popular for some of the things that they've done in the past, but they might be riding on their titles or their former achievements. I mean, that makes room for people who not only are not only who have new good ideas, but who are also smart financially. Like they could appeal to gamers and to a consumer base that's changed in the past couple of decades, maybe more so than figureheads that have been there for quite a long time. So I don't know. From an outsider's perspective, my perspective, I think that this might end up being a good thing for their brand, and I think they might end up doing a lot of good work. But that's speculative and yet to be seen.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that because from what I've heard is that most of the devs that they laid off, that they forced to quit, were like people that they kind of hired from the community, and they weren't really proper video game makers, and they kind of got trained. And another thing too is like, they didn't just like fire these people; they gave them a good severance package, so they're fine off.
Okay, good.
But some people quit the company after a certain amount of time. But they also got a severance package from quitting because they were given the choice, like, quit or be fired, But some of these people that they let go are just, they're not game designers, And so maybe this company will rehire people who are game designers. And right now, their social presence is going to be really crappy because you've got basically a bunch of people who are just game designers replacing the social media presence of like talking about like, oh, I'm doing this on this is the new dev stuff, but they'll sort that out. I'll give it a couple of months.
From what I know, a lot of video game developers are notorious. I mean, the video game industry itself is notorious for treating its workers like crap. I mean, if you're trying to push a game out by a certain due date and that due date approaches rather quickly, you're going to have people that are working 12 to 16-hour days, and they get no extra benefits. They might be working for free at that point just so that they could be able to keep their jobs. Mm-hmm. That kind of crap goes on all the time. So I hope that this group doesn't turn out to be that way. Daybreak Games?
Yeah.
I hope that they don't turn out to be that way, but I do kind of think that it's a refreshing idea to get out with some of the older players, give them a good bonus, give them a slap on the ass and say, you've done really good work here, go do good work somewhere else, and then give other people an opportunity to rise up and add something new to the industry. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. I just hope wherever they take the company, that it's better and more well kept up than Sony Online Entertainment.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I hope that they make smarter decisions when they try to make a game with another company. Like SOE and LucasArts made Star Wars Galaxies together, and there was a lot of fighting. Yeah, I hope they don't do that again. Just, if you don't do that again, you're fine.
All right, so we're going to move into our next section called Unhealthy Obsessions, where we talk about games that are coming out that we are very excited about.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
We're not allowed to talk about Half-Life 3.
We've all played it.
Yeah. We don't want you to know too much, but we've played Half-Life 3 and it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, well, it's pretty
sucked,
well, the thing is, it was going to be on all of our number one actually, but then there's this NDA, we can't talk about it. So we had to scramble for new games. So all those games that we listed as our number ones are actual shit. They're just garbage because they're not Half-Life 3.
They replaced the gravity gun with a penis.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why.
Well, it's not really a penis.
My original top 3 was Half-Life 3, Half-Life 3, and Half-Life 3.
As it is a vagina. But
it's that explains the sucking.
And
motion.
the portals.
Right.
Can you believe the portals? Oh my god, I can't believe GLaDOS is in there.
I think we broke NDA. But
anyways. And the scouts. The scout from Team Fortress 2 creeps in. Anyways, games that we're excited about. What's coming out? Bloodborne? Anything else? Does anything else matter?
Yeah, Bloodborne.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mode.
Heist mode, yeah.
I'm actually really
Whatever
looking forward to Heist mode actually being working. It's not really out yet. I think it's kind of like an open beta.
We're just at that season where there's not very many games coming out.
Well, I have a list of games that I'm looking forward to, as a matter of fact, that I will not be able to play. until I get more money. Because I don't have a PlayStation 4. I mean, I don't have any of the next gen consoles, quote unquote. They're gen now, I guess. I don't have a PS4, Xbox One, or Wii U, but I am looking forward to the following games: Uncharted, The Order 1886, which I know released already, but I have yet to play it, so it's still upcoming for me.
Well, Uncharted just got pushed back to 2016, so you've got some time.
Really? God damn it. Well, then, if we're talking about 2016 as well, I'm looking forward to Silent Hills.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the last three games on that list in particular are the new Zelda game, Halo. Halo. Which Halo is this?
20?
Halo 5 and The Witcher.
Halo Tactics? I don't know.
The Witcher 3. The reason that I put Uncharted on the list is because even though I haven't played any of the Uncharted games, I did play The Last of Us, which is by Naughty Dog. And I am currently in the process of acquiring the Uncharted games just so I could go through that storyline and that video game experience and see what it's about. But Naughty Dog, after playing The Last of Us, I am confident in them as a company to push something good out. And I'm just excited to eventually get to play Uncharted 4. Zelda looks beautiful, and it reminds me of Ocarina of Time, which,
Yeah.
Eric, that's on your list, but it's also one of my top games as well. Not my top 3, but it's on my top games. Halo, I never cared for any of the Halo games until I played, Halo, not Recon, ODST.
ODST.
Yeah, Halo ODST, where it became more character-based and it added a lot of cool new gameplay elements, different ways to take out your enemies and have fun with your friends. I really think that Halo 5 is going to have a very nice campaign where the story is emotional and touching and action based, and it'll touch on all those aspects. And then the multiplayer hasn't changed for Halo in many years very much, but with a new company, 343 Industries, and a new game after they kind of made a samey game with Halo 4. I think that now is the time where they're going to branch out and do some really new exciting things. So I'm excited to see that.
It's funny that you say that the multiplayer hasn't changed much, because there's actually in the Master Chief Collection, there are two. As far as I know, I haven't played it, but as far as I know and what I've seen, there are actually two different multiplayer modes, and one oh no, okay, that's what it was. It was they brought back like the ranking system and like the multiplayer, all of the like mechanics from Halo 2's multiplayer, because that's apparently the one everybody loved.
Yeah, everybody
like,
loves that
undoubtedly.
one.
And so there's like that mode, and there's new. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure there's like two modes, but one of them is Halo 2 mode, and that's the one that everybody plays.
Oh well, I mean, but that's still
I got
still
you. It's
revisiting old stuff.
It's interesting, you know.
But I like that they did that because they identified something that their consumer base loves, and now they can build upon it.
Oh, for sure.
And then the last game on my list is The Witcher 3 because because I played The Witcher 1 and I wasn't able to beat it, and then I finally played through The Witcher 2 many years later, and I love it. I mean, the studio is based out of Poland, my parents' home country. Please leave jokes in the comments section. But it looks so epic, and the world is sprawling and massive and beautiful.
Well, that whole universe is just awesome. It's just so cool.
Yeah, just imagine being a total badass and getting to play a game that way the entire time.
Yeah.
There are other games that are like that, but this is The Witcher doing that.
Yeah, Geralt is he's the protagonist in the Witcher series, and he's basically Commander Shepard mixed with Batman, which is like the coolest combination you could ever come up with for a protagonist. He's just awesome, and it's a great story, great universe, and the way they're expanding it looks amazing. They mentioned that the first few DLCs, actually all of the DLC is going to be free,
Which is a good move.
Yeah, and I think the first one they're releasing is going to be Horse Armor, which is a kind of funny nod back to when Oblivion came out for the 360, and they released DLC for it, and it was Horse Armor, and I think it was like $10 or $15 or something like that
Yeah,
for a
I
set of
remember that.
Horse Armor. All right, what about you, Tor?
I am looking forward to EverQuest Next, obviously. I've been looking forward to the game for a while, and I've seen what the other like games on the Forge Light, I think it's called the Forge Light engine, have done, like PlanetSide and H1Z1. I'm looking forward to that living, breathing world. Hopefully, it'll deliver. And another game that I'm really looking forward to is Star Wars Battlefront, because it's a Battlefront game done by DICE, who makes Battlefield. And I think the Battlefield games are great. So, Star Wars Battlefront, I can't wait.
Yeah. And I think
and maybe PlanetSide 2 on the PS4, please.
Yeah,
Can I get
someday.
a beta code for that?
But yeah, I mean, other than that, everybody should obviously be excited about Bloodborne, and that's all they should really think about. Cause
Yep.
it's,
A couple days from now, we'll be playing about Bloodborne.
yeah, and until you get your hands on Half-Life 3, like we have, then Bloodborne's going to do it for you, you know. So we're going to move into our next section now, called Midnight Therapy Sessions. This is where we talk about the games that we're playing now. All right, well, I think we're all playing The Forest. I picked up Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number. We've all played a little bit of H1Z1.
I played a lot of
Oh,
H1Z1.
yeah. I think Tor's played it more than enough. But I think, Peter, have you played H1Z1?
I haven't played H1Z1 at all, but I've
okay,
watched
good.
people play it, and it looks like a lot of fun.
Oh, it's crazy cool.
But The Forest, it's kind of interesting how a lot of games feel reminiscent of that idea of H1Z1 and so forth. They're all kind of samey, but they've got their own twist.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly fine as standalone games, even though they have the same premise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Survival
survival genre
games, yeah.
is really taken off last year.
Yeah, there's just so many games coming out that are survival based. But The Forest does have awesome little quirks. It's, you know, kind of like Lost meets crazy cannibals, and there's no character development or drama because you're the only person on this island other than a child who's probably yours. I'm not sure. There's not a whole lot of story, but the crafting in it's very cool. The environment's awesome. Hacking up turtles with a hatchet's crazy. That's fun.
A lot of the fun part of the game is, since there is very little information out on it, and very few game guides, I mean, if you have a burning question, then you have to try it out on your own and figure out the answer. Mm-hmm. As far as effigies, I mean, you could make monuments made out of dead human bodies to, I assume, scare away the locals, although when I built one, to try to keep the native cannibals away from my camp, they actually ended up attacking me and murdering the shit out of me. So maybe it didn't work for me, but apparently it works for other people. Yeah. I think that it's really cool that a video game can come out with very little premise and very little story, probably specifically because it's pre-alpha still.
Yeah.
But I love that a game can do that, and you're forced to experiment and learn about it yourself rather than going by what you heard or by trailers or just by the synopsis on the back of a video game case, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and speaking of survival games, something that we found, or I found this week, and Thrasher had bought, and it's not exactly ready yet, but it's called Savage Lands, and it's a game that looks like it has potential, I think. It's kind of like Skyrim survival. There's dragons, you're kind of like a Norseman. The inventory management system is a little bit annoying. And like getting your first bags, it's pretty hardcore. There's food, cold, being cold, and there's health, and then you can craft a decent amount of basic weapons. Apparently, there's giants in the game. The only thing I've seen so far are deer and wolves and skeletons. The skeletons are pretty creepy. They did a really good job on that, so I can't wait to see what other kind of like demons or Norse like creatures that they put into that. And then also the game map is really big. There's no actual map of it, so nobody knows where anything is. So it's kind of really hardcore exploration at this point in time because it just came out last week in an early access type thing. And the thing about the game is that it's just not feature complete yet, and there's not a whole lot to do. You can pretty much do everything in an hour or two. There's multiplayer, but I mean, you can still build things and build, like stuff around your camp, but there's just not enough to do yet. But it is really cool because the exploration is pretty sick. There's like 6 towns to find. There's these towers that the dragon like rotates around, and the world just looks really good. So if they could fix some of that, and the fact that it lags like friggin' crazy,
Yeah.
it's a really laggy game.
I had a pretty
But-
bad experience playing it. I was a little turned off. I mean, it obviously has potential, and it's very early, but the lagginess of it, each step is like a frame, basically, and it's just that's after turning everything down. The textures already, like with everything on high, look not great.
And the game doesn't even look that great either in the first place.
Yeah, the
Like,
crafting is clunky.
They do. If you guys hear this, the devs, and I know they're pretty active, like listening to podcasts and stuff. You guys should really, really fix those issues with. We don't even have really a low end system. Our system's kind of a medium end system, and we can't even play the game on low.
Yeah,
So,
we're getting like 15 frames a second. So
Yeah.
is that? I don't know if that's an in-engine thing. I don't know if that's like a,
and a lot of the people I saw streaming were having frame rate problems too, and
yeah.
they
So
have
it's
beast computers.
probably a pretty common.
I wouldn't consider my computer high end, but maybe it's just a step above yours. But I had all of my settings on ultra, and I think that this might be just because people are streaming the game. But mine is almost seamless.
Talking about Savage Lands.
Oh no, sorry. I thought we were talking about the forest still. I got really confused.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, no. The forest actually is like wonderful. Like that's kind of, with that being like one of the comparisons. It's like if you're gonna make a survival game and you're gonna release it in early access and alpha, like have it up to the standards of the forest. Where sure there are enough bugs in it to be frustrating, but it's at a playable level, and it's you can still spend time in it and get over the quirks and get over the bugs. But this is and obviously they have a really good concept. They have like a really cool. It could be a very great game. It's just at this point in time, it's kind of a clunky mess.
So the other game,
Savage Lands, yeah.
yeah, Savage Lands, was that also like a pay to play early access type of thing?
Yeah, it was like a $15
Oh my
on
God.
sale or something. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, the forest to me just barely cuts it. I mean, it's great to experience something new, and if I see that they make a lot of improvements before they release the game officially, then I'll definitely pay full price for it. But as far as getting early access, like it just is a step above the $15 mark. Like $15 is just worth it to me, and I can't imagine any other game being having more issues or being any less good.
Yeah.
I can't imagine people who pay for early access for that, essentially to beta test. I can't imagine anybody experiencing having a good experience.
Yeah.
I will say that one thing about early access, though, is it is early access, and most people should understand that they are paying for an incomplete product. I would just like to see developers be a little bit more transparent about how unfinished that project is. Like, hey, we've done no optimization whatsoever.
Right.
Okay, so I know that, like, I probably don't have a PC that can handle it. Like, I understand that turns off sales and stuff, but, like, as far as Savage Lands goes, we probably won't open it up for, like, a year.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it'll be, like, a complete game. And
not just vaporware.
yeah. And another thing I would say about early access is if you understand already those risks and you maybe understand that you can't play the game, sometimes it is good to buy the game just to support the developer. If you really like the game that much and you can't play it, buy the game, support the developer, they'll optimize it, eventually you'll be able to play it. But like you just have to understand, you're getting an early access game, you might not be able to play it with a crappy computer or a medium end computer. It's not feature complete. It's probably gonna, have a lot of bugs. You just have to expect those kinds of things.
Yeah, and as a video gamer, you can't. I mean, these arguments are valid, but at the same time, we're in a world where video games are becoming more like retail products. I mean, if you complain about a product or about service at a restaurant, they're set up to where if you complain enough, you're going to get what you want. You're going to get some kind of reward or something to compensate you. With video games, I really don't see that being the right path. And so what you're talking about, supporting the video game industry in order for them to be able to support you, for them to have the ability to support you, show your love for video games. If you love a video game, express it. If you don't like an aspect about a video game and you're playing a beta that you paid for, mention it, bring it up,
There's
make
Twitter.
it known. Yeah.
I mean, some of the game developers have been really active on Twitter. The Savage Land game developers, they're talking all the time with people. I mean, it's good. You just do your research. I think a lot of people jump into things without doing their research and they buy a shitty game. They're like, oh, this game sucks. And it's like, well, not to everybody. Some people like the game, but maybe you just like didn't watch enough like clips of the game. You didn't read enough about it. You didn't go on Twitch TV. Like, that's a good resource, like, to find out whether or not you want to buy a game. You go on Twitch and you watch someone play it for an hour. Are you bored? Okay, well, then you probably don't want to buy that game.
Yeah,
Or you
or is
wanna
it
look at
unfinished?
Yeah.
Because then you don't want to buy Savage Lands.
Yeah. I will. I do want to. I want to say good things about Savage Lands because I think it has potential. So I don't want to like down it in any way. Like, I think that the game could be good in the future, and it will offer different survival aspects than the forest does. I think, or different objectives.
For sure. Peter has something to say.
Just to get this off my chest, but a few
It's
games. It's not poop. Poop doesn't come from your chest, Eric.
No, it goes on your chest.
A couple of games that I really think, if you're into indie games, if you really appreciate what small time developers put out there, This War of Mine and Hotline Miami, I finally got around to playing that because of at Eric's suggestion, or his insistence rather. There was a gun involved.
Oh, yeah.
But playing games like that, if that's something that you enjoy, This War of Mine is fantastic. It's incredibly emotional and detailed in your interactions. It really hits hard, and it can educate you about a real thing in history that happened very, very, very recently. And then Hotline Miami is just a trip to play. I mean, the music is bumping while also being extremely, I don't know, I felt intoxicated and depressed playing that game. Like, it made me so sad. But that's the whole point. These are games that, because they're small-time developers, they pick and choose what they're going to focus on after they've built their foundation for their game, and a lot of times that is atmosphere. And these games are just fantastic at pushing that forward.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to highly recommend those.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the first episode of the Hug Jacket Gamers podcast.
Woo! Definitely the first. Let's not talk about the other ones.
There were no other takes before this. Before we go, I want to give a couple thanks out.
Give away a couple hug jackets.
Yeah, we're going to give some hug jackets away. They're not physical things, so don't expect anything.
It's love.
Yeah, it's just love.
Eternally binding.
Yeah, and there are straps on the back, and, love. We want to thank Michael Workman.
He lent us his PS4 and
He-
kind of got us started in this. I mean, he kind of led the way for this podcast to be started because we were like talking about games that we liked on the PS4, and he lent us a PS4, and we were able to play some next gen stuff, and possibly get some footage up for you guys, like on YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that.
To clarify, Michael Workman never actually agreed to let you guys borrow the PlayStation 4. He's also a fan of The Last of Us, and he gave me his PS4, his TV, and the video game so I could play the remastered version. And then he forgot to take it back. He got, I don't know, like a $500 console plus video games and stuff and a TV. You misplaced that very easily, and Michael Workman did that, but I eventually handed it down to Eric and Tor, and we made very good use of it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Everyone who has so far followed us on Twitch, thank you very
thank you.
much. And anyone who's followed us on Twitter, anyone who's been active.
Shout out to Infected Mushroom.
Yep, shout out to Infected Mushroom for following us on Twitter.
That was the coolest thing
that was
ever.
pretty awesome. I've had a couple conversations with people, thank you guys, every one of you, and I'll be sending the podcast to you as soon as it comes out.
Anybody listening right now, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We got more coming.
And by the way, that's twitch.tv/hugjacketgamers, twitter.com/hugjacketgamers,
Or at hugjacketgamers.
or at hugjacketgamers, and we have a YouTube channel. You just have to search for it. Once we get 500 subscribers, I believe we can name it. So if you'd kindly subscribe to the YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it, so we can get youtube.com/hugjacketgamers going.
And if I can add before we go, if you guys have any comments, things that you liked or disliked, or future suggestions, games that you absolutely insist we play or we're crazy not to, go ahead and let us know in the comments section. We'll respond, or we'll try to address it as best we can.
Or we'll ignore it, or we'll resent you for it. So,
I'm going to actively try to respond to it, and Eric will just be a dick about it.
And I'm going to just send it to Total Biscuit and see what he has to say about it. So,
all right. Well, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. All right?
Goodbye.
Bye.
bye.